The great hall smells of roasting venison and hot beeswax. You stand on the rush-covered floor, heart pounding inside a tunic you'd never choose for yourself, red and yellow panels, sleeves that nearly drag, a leather belt strung with copper bells. The hood clings tight, ending in 3 tails tipped with more bells. You feel less like a man and more like a signal that trouble is coming. A dozen nobles sit on carved oak chairs along the dais. In the center, beneath a clothed gold canopy, the king leans back in ermine-trimmed robes, eyes sharp and restless. His gaze lands on you, and the murmurs in the room fade. "Ah, our new fool." His voice is smooth but edged. You bow, the bells ringing too loud in your own ears. The steward warned you before this moment. You're not just here to tumble and juggle. You're the king's mirror, his weapon when mockery serves him. Make him laugh, even if it means cutting at the highest lord. They fail, and you'll lose more than your place. A hound noses your pointed slippers. Somewhere to your left, a lute begins to play. All eyes are on you. You take a breath and offer a line you hope will sting just enough without drawing blood. It earns a ripple of laughter from the lower tables. The king's smile thins. You understand now. Laughter here isn't protection, it's a test. And the wrong laugh, at the wrong person, could end with a whipping, the stocks, or worse. And the day has only begun. The king leans forward, fingers drumming the arm of his chair. "A jest is well enough," he says, "but a fool's worth is measured by his tongue's edge." His eyes hold a glint that is not pure amusement. He tells you to come closer. You step onto the dais. The worn rushes deaden your steps. From here the whole hall seems to lean in. Servants pause mid-pour. Guards shift their grip on their spears. Every noble watches as if they expect blood. The king gestures toward a tall, hawk-nosed man in a crimson suit. Lord de Morville, fresh from a victory in Normandy. The king asks what you see when you look at him. Praise is safe. Mockery is expected. The steward's warning repeats in your mind. Flatter too much and you bore the king. Cut too deep and you lose your head. You fix on the plume of feathers on his hat. You bow low and say you see a man who fought so fiercely that even the birds fled Normandy and took refuge upon his head. Laughter moves through the hall. Some is genuine, some is wary. De Morville's smile is thin. The king's grin is not. The king's gaze shifts to the bishop, a portly man in green robes, fingers heavy with gold rings. Jesting about the clergy is dangerous, but the king waits. You say his rings are so fine the saints might mistake him for a goldsmith when he knocks on heaven's door. The hall laughs louder. The bishop joins in, but his laugh is brittle. The king leans back, satisfied. You will do, for now. The tightness in your shoulders eases but does not leave. You have passed his first trial, but the court still circles you like wolves. The feast continues. You balance a goblet on your chin, mimic the falconer's squint, juggle bread rolls. Every act feels like crossing a narrow bridge over a long fall. You notice no one laughs too hard at a jest about the king. You see the steward's eyes flick to you whenever you speak to someone important. This is not simple amusement. This is politics dressed in bells and motley. The king has already decided you will be working until the candles burn low. Tomorrow will bring another trial. But first there is one more today that will cost you more than wit alone. The feast drags deep into the evening. The air is heavy with wine, sweat, and the heat of too many bodies packed into the great hall. Sweat runs beneath your hood, dampening the cloth against your scalp. The meat is down to bones, the trenchers soaked through with gravy, and the laughter is looser now that the drink has taken hold. Trouble finds you when Sir Alad of Cornwall calls you over. His cheeks are red from his 5th goblet. He waves a jeweled hand and asks what you think of the king's tax. The shift in the room is small but clear. Forks pause, heads tilt slightly. People are listening. This is bait, not a casual request. The king's eyes are on you, unreadable. You smile, though your stomach tightens. You tell Sir Alad the king's tax is like his wine. It leaves a man poorer, but warmer. There are chuckles. The king inclines his head, but a large smirk deepens. He presses. Is it fair? You can smell the danger. One wrong word, and you sound like a rebel. Refuse to answer, and you risk boring the king. You turn the joke sideways. You take a loaf from the table and hollow it with your fingers. You say the king's tax is like this bread, taken bit by bit until it seems gone, yet leaving a crust to keep a man alive. The lower tables roar. The king gives a dry smile. Alad leans back with narrowed eyes. It is much later, when the torches are low and the corridors are quiet, that the price comes due. 2 of the king's guards meet you in the servants' passage. One grips your arm, the other the back of your neck, and they walk you to a cold, bare chamber. The steward is waiting. He says you made the king laugh, but you also made an enemy, and Alad does not forgive. At his signal, a guard lifts a short whip. The lashes are sharp and quick, not meant to cripple but to remind. The bells on your belt jingle with each strike. When they let you go, you walk the corridor with your ribs aching and your back burning. You understand now that in this court every jest has a price, and tomorrow you will be asked to pay again. You leave the cold stone chamber with your back still burning and step into the pale light filtering through the castle's arrow-slit windows. The air smells of damp rushes and stale smoke. You slept only a few short hours before the day began again. A jester's life leaves no time for lingering. The steward wakes you with a knock that is closer to a command. The king dines early and expects to be amused before the hunt. You pull on the same motley you wore yesterday, the cloth stiff with dried sweat and spilled wine, and pull the hood over your head. The bells jingle brightly, but the sound feels like mockery. In the smaller morning hall, the king eats with his favored lords and ladies. Trays of trenchers, eggs, and honeyed oatcakes are laid out before them. You start with light banter, imitating the dainty way a courtier lifts bread, juggling apples taken from the table. At first, the laughter is easy, but in court, amusement is not a passing pleasure, it is constant work. You move from juggling to tumbling, from mocking the huntsman's swagger to reciting a bawdy verse about a farmer's daughter. Some laugh openly, others hide their smirks behind goblets. Midway through, a page hands you a small wooden flute, the king's order. You are to play while the lords finish their meal. Music is not your strength, but refusal is not an option. The tune comes out uneven, and you catch the queen's raised eyebrow. The king grins. He says his fool plays as he jests, clumsy but never dull. There are chuckles around the table. It is not flattering, but it is safe. When the meal ends, the court prepares for the hunt. You are told to ride along, not to chase the stag, but to keep spirits high on the long ride. The saddle is hard, the bells on your belt ringing with every jolt of the horse. You sing short verses, call playful challenges to the riders, and pretend to panic when the hounds bay. Hours later, the stag is brought down. You are expected to improvise a short skit in the clearing, mocking the slowest riders. Your legs are aching, your throat dry, but you find the energy. Fatigue is not a reason the king will accept. When you return to the castle, your voice is hoarse and your body feels used up. The day is far from over. The evening feast still waits, and with it the dangerous game you must keep playing. By the time the sun sets, the castle comes alive again for the evening feast. Torches burn along the stone corridors, their light throwing long shadows across the rush-covered floors. You have barely changed the damp linen beneath your motley before the summons comes to return to the great hall. The tables are heavy with roasted fowl, pies spiced with cloves, and trenchers stacked with bread. The noise is already loud, with tankards clinking, servants calling orders, and hounds barking for scraps. Beneath the sound, you feel something else in the air. Unease. You weave between the tables, bowing and tossing out short jests. As you move, you catch scraps of talk. A noble murmurs about a messenger from York. A lady whispers of trouble in the north. You are not meant to hear these things, but the jester's place is strange. You are both unseen and everywhere at once. You balance a spoon on your nose. You mimic the stiff walk of a pompous courtier. While you perform, your ears stay open. Near the dais, the steward speaks quietly with the captain of the guard. The words are too low to catch clearly, but you hear loyalty in suspected tongues. During a pause between acts, Lady Cecily, one of the Queen's ladies, beckons you. Her eyes are sharp, her voice low, but clear enough to cut through the noise. She says you hear more than you should, and you should learn what not to repeat. You bow and tell her you repeat nothing unless it earns a laugh. Her smile is small and knowing. She presses a plum into your hand as if it were a casual gift, then turns away. The wax seal on it is from the kitchen, unbroken, which means it did not come from the table. You cannot check it here. The king calls you back. This time he wants a story. You tell of a fisherman who tries to catch the moon in his net. The lower tables laugh, but you feel certain eyes on you, weighing you. The night grows late and the tension grows with it. Across the hall, Sir Allard speaks with Lord de Morville near the side door. Both look your way before they part. When the feast ends, you are tired not from the tumbling or juggling but from the constant sense that threads are being pulled around you. In this court, words are weapons. You hold one, but so does everyone else. Tomorrow you may find out which strikes harder. The next morning is grey and heavy, the sky low with clouds that promise rain. You are called to the king earlier than usual. There is no breakfast, no time to prepare beyond pulling on your motley and fastening the belt still dusty from yesterday. The great hall is quieter than it should be. Fewer courtiers are here, and those who stand in small clusters, speaking in low voices. The king sits on his throne, his expression unreadable. Sir Allard stands to his right, still as a hound waiting for command. The steward meets you halfway. The king wants a jest about loyalty. His glance flicks toward Allard before he looks away. Your mind moves quickly. This is no request for entertainment. It is a test in full view of the court. You bow. The bells on your hood faint in the still air. You tell the king loyalty is like a dog, faithful through feast and famine, unless another master offers a larger bone. Laughter comes from the lower tables. The king smiles slightly. Allard's eyes remain fixed on you, colder than before. The king presses, "Who is the greatest dog in his court?" Every thought stops. The wrong answer could be your last. Silence could be just as dangerous. You keep your grin and say the greatest dog is the one who guards the king most fiercely and bites only at his command. You drop to one knee as you say it. The king laughs, short and sharp, the sound carrying across the hall. Well said, he declares. Let all remember his fool knows the measure of a man's tongue. The tension eases, but Allard's gaze stays on you like the point of a blade. The day continues. You juggle, tumble, and mock as you always do, but the laughter feels forced, strained. When the hall empties, you return to your small chamber by the kitchens. On your bed rests the plum Lady Cecily gave you 2 nights ago. The wax seal is cracked. Inside is a scrap of parchment. It reads in a hurried hand, "Leave before the next moon. He will not protect you twice." You hold it for a long time. The bells of your hood silent in your lap. Life outside the castle will be hard, but here among crowns and knives it may soon be impossible. You begin to plan. A jester's wit can win the day, but it rarely saves the night.